For those unfortunate souls who lost in the competitive round one, congratulations, you get to work on an assignment, and here it is. And I'll go over it and try to give you a few hints. So, question one is, suppose Andrews wanted to reduce its leverage ratio at the end of round one by using cash to pay down debt. What amount would have been necessary for Andrews to have achieved a leverage ratio? Leverage ratio is equal to, here's your equation, leverage ratio is equal to assets divided by equity of 1.8. Now Andrews' leverage ratio was 2.1, but that doesn't really matter. What we're looking for is, and I'm going to pause for a second and get over to the proper courier, but it doesn't really matter what its leverage ratio was, okay, because we just want to find out what it needed to have been. So here you go, you've got leverage ratio, okay, you know what you're shooting for, right? I give it to you right there, is equal to assets divided by equity. Now, when you use cash, okay, you're going to pay out or pay down some debt. When you use cash to pay down debt, let's say you take 10 million of cash and you pay down 10 million of current debt. Does that affect your equity? The answer is no. Okay. Does that affect your assets? Okay. So that tells you then what you're looking for, what your variable is, your missing variable is, and so you simply plug it in and do the basic algebra, and should be able to get you then to ultimately, right, how much they would have had to have done. 2, in the low end segment, how much money after taxes did Ferris leave on the table? So this is just a continuation then of some that we've had. And so in the low end, scroll down and you can see Ferris had roughly, and you guys don't get to do the roughly, okay, but roughly actual sales of about 20% and potential sales look like about 25%. So it looks like Ferris gave up probably about 5% of its potential sales. And so you need to calculate, how many units, obviously, how many units then that it could have sold, for what price, okay, figure the marginal contribution margin, the marginal contribution margin, or the marginal gross profit, okay, per item, okay, and then you got to calculate taxes on that too. Yeah, you might have to look in your guide to see what the tax rate is. I never remember. I always assume it's one thing, and I'm usually wrong in my assumptions. So you have to look in there and figure out what that is. So it's a multi-step process, and make sure you look, because there may have been two products. Okay, so you'd have to take a look at that and see if each of those two products had more potential than actual. You might have to do it for two products, and I don't know. I just kind of figured that out as I went down here, that there might be two products that are involved in that. 3, Chester is forecasting sales next round in the traditional segment. It is estimating that it will sell about 1,715 units of cake. So if we go look at Chester in the traditional segment, cake, it sold about 1.5 million, right? So it's going to sell 1.715 units of cake, its traditional product. Chester wants to have an extra 10% of units on hand above and beyond its forecast in case sales are better than expected. So we need to add another 10% to that, right? It would risk the possibility of excess inventory carrying charges rather than risk lost profits on a stock out. So taking current inventory into account, cake does have some existing inventory, right? Sure it does. 489,000 units. So taking that into account, what will cake's production after adjustment be? What will cake's production after adjustment have to be in order to have a 10% reserve of units available for sale? And the adjustment is simply for the inventory. That's all I want you to adjust for. Okay. Last one, 4. Dixie ended the year with an awareness of 48%. If Digby invests $1.5 million in promotion next year in that segment, right, what will Dixie's awareness be? Okay, Sorry, you got to get out your guide and look that up. It'll tell you what happens to awareness from one year to the next, and then it will tell you what type of increase you would get in awareness based on that type of a budget for promotion. There you have it, the Round 1C assignment. For those of you so fortunate as to have the opportunity to prepare it for this class. Thank you.